Hi all, and welcome to our webinar, Elevate the Sustainability of Over-the-Counter Medicine Packages, on how to succeed in sustainable pharmaceutical labeling. In this webinar, we will discuss how the choice of label can positively impact the sustainability of your packaging, and why is it crucial in the increasingly competitive over-the-counter market. And importantly, how you can combine both safety and sustainability for a competitive packaging solution for OTC. During the webinar, we will activate few poll questions, and you will be able to answer them in the poll chat. The first one is visible there in the polls already. Today, it will be me and Annina Kujala hosting the webinar. My name is Lottie Anderson. I'm the Business Development Manager for Pharma and Healthcare Labeling Solutions in EMEA. I've been working for UPM Raflatac for almost 20 years in different positions. We are collaborating with brand owners and joint industry stakeholders in various labeling-related matters, from supporting label material specifications, ensuring solutions matches the needed acceptance criteria and long-term aspects. As well, he helped reaching joint sustainability targets where the label decision have an impact. I will hand over now to Annina, please.
Hello all, my name is Annina Kujala, and I am the product manager responsible for our pharmaceutical labeling material portfolio. And I'm in charge of our wide range of products and, for example, new product launches. My background is from various packaging industry positions, from pulp and paper making to labeling laminates, and my passion has always been sustainable, renewable, and innovative packaging solutions that both support the environment and lead to commercial success.
UPM Raflatac is part of UPM Corporation. We're using the value of the forest and deliver renewable and responsible solutions for a future beyond fossils. Across our 6 business areas, where UPM Raflatac is one, we bring innovative wood-based products to the market. Here we showcase 4 examples. 5Dex, a natural wound care dressing coming from UPM Biomedicals. Renewable plastic label from the forest from UPM Raflatac in collaboration with UPM Biofuels. Visa WoodSat, the first ever wooden satellite coming from UPM Plywood. Interesting way to have a test protocol. And also UPM BioVerno biofuel, which is made by using tall oil residues from our pulp making production process from UPM Biofuels. UPM Raflatac is a global laminate manufacturer, especially focused on sustainable labeling solutions. We are a global partner for your labeling needs with 10 factories and 30 terminals across the globe, serving 13 end-use segments such as pharmaceutical and healthcare labeling. Even though the labels are a small part of the packaging, they play a key role in keeping environmental footprint as low as possible. Labels matter and are part of sustainable packaging design. Collaboration is a must to take positive climate action. Here we have raised examples of few organizations which we collaborate with to ensure our solutions are meeting various sustainability guidelines. For example, we are participating in the New Plastics Economy initiative from Ellen MacArthur Foundation, bringing together key industry stakeholders to create a circular economy for plastic packaging. We also, for example, have collaborated with Association of Plastic Recyclers and the Carbon Trust Foundation. For pharma and healthcare, we are following these packaging areas in terms of labeling, as they all represent a different set of application requirements, as well as regulatory. Our pharma-dedicated label solutions are designed to match versatile packaging types, as you can see briefly here. The role of pharma label materials, in a nutshell, is to remain compliant, durable, and migration safe until the end of life, and do not change without notice. Therefore, it is important to keep in mind not to mix label materials between industries, as they may likely not be suitable for pharma and healthcare and can endanger patient safety. as well risk leading to performance failures over time. Today, the main focus will be labeling solutions for OTC and medicinal bottles. We understand pharma industry zero risk strategy and that product validation absorbs time and resources for you. In opposite, in opposite to standard industry labels, the pharma dedicated solutions are following extensive application specific testing protocols, and they are pre-tested for various conditions and needs, as you can see here from the bubbles, to ensure that they meet the requirements for their intended use. This saves you time and effort and ensures that you have the right label solution from the beginning before starting your testing activities. Okay, to the topic of today. What is over-the-counter medication? It is prescription-free drugs such as painkillers, cough syrups, and allergy or fever medication. The consumer can purchase these drugs independently and self-administer those for easily self-diagnosed and minor conditions. Packaging safety regulations and labeling requirements are not any lower for OTC medication than for prescription medicines, also known as RX medicines. All the packaging have to be safe and follow the same high regulations for pharmaceutical packaging. But as opposite to RX medicines, OTC is possible to be marketed in a different way. In the OTC, consumer is making the purchase decision, so high brand appeal and standing out in the pharmacy shelves is of high importance in OTC. Nutraceuticals such as vitamins, minerals, dietary supplements are often not categorized as a drug, but classified and regulated as food. This means in practice that the packaging materials for nutraceuticals follow instead the safety regulations intended for food packaging, which may have slightly different requirements. OTC packaging encompasses a range of various packaging types, shapes, and sizes. Today, we're looking into typical labeling requirements for glass and plastic bottles. They typically have a diameter above 20 millimeter, volume size 5 to 500 ml, holding solid or liquid drugs. The requirements for the label depend on the bottle material and the sensitivity of the medical substance within. Glass is a natural barrier which blocks migration and does not require a specialized migration-safe labeling solution. Plastic, however, is often not serving as a functional barrier and will often require a migration-safe label adhesive to ensure the packaging material cannot contaminate the medical substance. If the drug is in solid form, such as capsules or tablet, it may not be as sensitive to migration, but it depends on the medicine and is a case-by-case assessment. Especially medicines in liquid form are sensitive to migration and will call for a specialized migration-safe solution when filled in plastic bottles. Additionally, as you can see here in the picture, bottles or their caps may require additional tamper-evident solutions or freshness seal indicators. Going to the cardboard packagings, medicine bottles themselves may be packed in additional cardboard packaging. Also, blisters or pouches are typically enclosed in those. Cardboard boxes may require tamper-evident labeling solutions that will visibly reveal if the box has been opened or tampered with, providing additional sense of security to the consumer. The OTC market is growing and it's also becoming more and more competitive. By the increasing adoption of OTC to widen accessibility and affordability in especially developing countries, meeting the demand for self-medication at lower price points. Example for people without insurances. The focus of self-medication to avoid doctor visits and pressure to healthcare system. Online distribution, such as online pharmacies. And last, RX to OTC switches. There are several reasons a company may wish to switch from RX prescription drug to OTC. Life cycle extension is the most common to reach a wider customer pool or to introduce a more generic low-cost drug when a branded pharmaceutical product approaches patent expiration. When consumers making the purchase decision, the change can often lead to the redesigning of the packaging to be more consumer-friendly, appealing in the store shelves, or to be more sustainability-oriented. Product safety and change management. The patient safety requirements for prescription-free OTC and RX packaging are the same. When making the shift to OTC, availability in it involves scientifically rigorous data-driven process as medication must meet strict requirements. Sustainability targets. Many pharmaceutical companies, retailers, and other members of the pharmaceutical supply chain have set sustainability goals and are ramping up efforts to reduce waste in support of circular economy. One way to succeed in a more competitive market situation is to directly impact consumer by redesigning the packaging. It can be goals such as sustainable brand appeal can be one of the main differentiators to attract eco-conscious consumer engagement and with eye-catching packaging design. Consumers want packaging materials that are minimal but yet protective, renewable, recyclable, reusable, and or recycled content with clear instructions for packaging recycling. Cost optimization, using less raw materials and achieve more cost-competitive solutions, or using different processes, such as print-on-demand labeling, to bring down cost and or to increase the margin. Product safety and integrity. Implementing tamper-evident seal features or freshness indicator seals are providing additional sense of security to the consumer. Sustainability, as mentioned before, is one of the main ways to stand out in the store shelves. But also in general, as a company, many companies are now aiming for sustainability goals, of which packaging design and decisions have a big impact. As emphasized earlier, the packaging safety regulations and labeling requirements are not any lower for OTC medication than for prescription medicines. OTC, by the way, is more cost competitive, which can lead to the incentive to use standard industry labeling materials, non-pharma design, but they may propose a risk. They have not been pre-tested for specific container types, substrates, or conditions. They do not have change management notification service to ensure material and its performance remain the same as originally qualified. And they may not offer the required features, such as migration safety, with the risk of introducing toxic compounds, or no documentation to meet patient safety regulations. The role of the pharmaceutical packaging is to protect and deliver the drug safely to patients, and this must be prioritized when changing to more sustainable materials. Packaging safety regulations are setting the high requirements for the sustainable packaging and labeling, and they must meet functional and chemical requirements, be thoroughly tested, be durable for intended storage, handling, and transportation conditions, remain stable with careful control and evaluation of all material or process changes. Any packaging and labeling which falls short of serving its purpose is never sustainable. I will now hand over again to Anina, and she will elaborate more on how the choice of label can positively impact the sustainability of your OTC packaging.
Thank you, Lotti. So, moving over to the sustainability targets that companies may have. Sustainable targets that companies have often revolve around the 3 R's, so reduce, renew, or recycle, and companies can aim for different goals. Therefore, there are also different kinds of labeling solutions out there that can be used to support in reaching different targets. Though sustainability in OTC requires careful consideration, as not all solutions can be always implemented for regulatory or patient safety reasons. And also, as the qualifying process of verifying the overall safety for a packaging material in pharma, it may take a long time. The long-term availability of unchanged materials must be ensured. But as for the reduce, it basically means the utilization of less raw materials or resources to mitigate the footprint of the packaging and also the waste that the package creates in the end. This can be achieved with, for example, by using thinner, lighter, or resource optimized materials, but it still must be ensured that the packaging will meet its most crucial goal of giving sufficient protection to the medicine. As for the utilization of recycled content, it means utilizing materials from recycled origin to support the circular economy. But this is not always possible in pharma due to the contamination risk that, for example, may exist in mechanically recycled plastics. For example, chemically recycled plastic solutions are often easier to implement as they are identical in performance, quality, safety to standard non-recycled materials. But then again, their availability for packaging materials in general can be more limited nowadays. As for renew, it basically means the utilization of materials that are coming from a renewable origin instead of fossil sources to mitigate the carbon footprint and tackle climate change. This can be achieved with sustainably sourced fiber-based materials like FSC certified paper, or with, for example, plastic labels that are originating from renewable raw materials instead of fossil sources. And then on to enabling recycling. So this means in practice utilizing solutions that support package recyclability and the circular economy, for example, by having compatible label materials for the container type in question, or by utilizing wash-off materials that come off from the container during industrial washing and recycling process. Typical to pharma, though, the labels may have to actually withstand harsh storage or sterilization conditions where the labels cannot come off too soon or prior to reaching their end of life. So not all solutions in this field are necessarily applicable to pharma, but may require application-specific testing. Then moving on to introducing some of our solutions. So we at UPM Raflatac want to make it as easy as possible for you to choose just the right labeling solution to meet your specific targets. And we have actually created two portfolios to meet this goal. Smart Choice for the smarter choice of labeling materials that mitigate environmental impact, and Smart Circle to support with enhancing the packaging recyclability. In our Reduce portfolio, we have resource optimized products with lower environmental impact compared to standard products, but still ensuring that the product performance has remained good. In Recycle, we are reducing the pressure on virgin feedstocks by switching to materials with recycled content. In Renew, we are supporting the change from fossil materials to renewable ones to go beyond fossils for a smarter future with more and more sustainable and renewable materials. And in Enhanced Recycling, we support the circularity of packaging with labeling materials that enhance packaging recyclability. And it's good to know that self-adhesive labels generally do not make the packaging non-recyclable, because packages are typically recyclable if the main container material itself is recyclable. But there are still specialized solutions out there that can increase the yield of high-quality recyclate. Of this, one good example is, for example, wash-off labels for PET containers that wash off from containers, enabling the recovery of high-quality and clean PET. This may sound a little bit confusing to you as we have covered so many different sustainability topics, but here we have tried to summarize the main questions regarding the label selection. So which label material to choose for which container type? As mentioned, a label typically doesn't render a solution non-recyclable, but there are still choices that can be made to support recycling by using labeling materials that are compatible with the recycling process in question. As different packaging materials have different recycling processes, and as label is always recycled with the container it is adhered to, It should meet the requirements for the recycling process of that specific material in question. So here we have examples of few different packaging materials, including a short information of their specific recycling process, and also an example labeling product from our side in the end. So if you go for the left-hand side, so glass containers, those can typically be recycled with any self-adhesive label, as glass itself is often collected, crushed, and melted to make new glass. But if those glass bottles would be reused again as they are and simply only washed after each use in between, then they would benefit from wash-off labels. But this is rarely the process in pharma. So thus, our recommended example solution here is a Next Plus paper label from a renewable source with significantly sustainable benefits. And when it comes to plastics, PP and PE containers are not that often subjected to hot washing in their recycling process, which means basically then that a wash-off label is not then required. Instead, it is actually more important that the label face itself is compatible with the container material. And for this, following the monomaterial perspective is often beneficial. So it basically means using plastic labels with plastic containers. Our example product here is a forest PP label, and this plastic label is actually wood-based, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. Then on to PET containers. Those are also plastic, but PET containers are on the other hand often subjected to a specific hot washing process, where the aim is to remove the label from the PET container. Generally, both paper or plastic labels are suitable for this if they are washing off from the container in the specific recycling process. One example from our side is Pharmaglass paper face with a wash-off adhesive. And then on to cardboard packaging. The paper recycling process itself is rather established already, so it can deal with both plastic or paper labels. But as paper fiber labels typically increase the yield of recyclate, those are then thus preferred. And our example product here is a translucent paper solution that is also providing tamper-evident performance. Just to go a little bit more into detail about these solutions, so starting from our first product example, Pharmacode Next Plus OTC FSC. This is actually about to be launched really soon, and you here in the webinar are the first ones getting a preview of this product. This labeling laminate has been specifically designed for OTC bottles, and it is especially suitable for glass bottles, following the guidelines that we presented in the slide before. The performance of this product has been carefully tested with OTC for reliable performance. Furthermore, this product supports in reaching sustainable goals, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in the following slides. But both the face and the liner material are FSC certified, for example. Also, this product is offered with 3 months of change management notice service, and combined with the 2-year shelf life of this product, it gives in total 27 months to execute any possible changes in a controlled manner. This new product answers the need of using more sustainable labeling materials in OTC to succeed in the highly competitive OTC market, where we acknowledge that standing out in store shelves is more important than ever, and we truly feel that sustainability is the solution. Then a little bit more about the background of why this product is so sustainable. So as you all know, carbon emissions are the major influencer on global warming. And when the amount of carbon emissions has been increasing in our atmosphere over the last decades, Earth's carbon sinks, mainly forests and oceans, have not been able to keep up with all of the human activities and absorb all of the carbon emissions that we have created. To make a change, we need to actually find ways to reduce the carbon emissions, but also to increase our carbon sink's capacity to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So basically meaning to support our forests and oceans to breathe the carbon dioxide back in. These RAF Next Plus labels take action on both sides. So they are reducing carbon emissions through smarter product design that reduces the emissions that are created from manufacturing and transporting. And they are also increasing the forest's capacity to remove carbon from the atmosphere to mitigate climate change. And this all combined leads to a positive climate action. And what is really unique about this RafNext Plus is that we can actually quantify this impact. So for example, here we have an example that if you use 1 million square meters of this Pharmacoat Next Plus OTC FSC product in comparison to the standard paper-based product that we have showcased here, you reach a fossil carbon emission reduction of over 10 tons. And in addition, an increased capacity of our carbon sinks to remove 5.6 tons of carbon emissions from the atmosphere. And I know that you might hear lots of big words everywhere, but you might wonder that can we actually prove that this is right, and is there really science behind this calculation? And the answer is yes. This calculated impact is in accordance to the ISO standards and also the PAS 2050 standards, which is the International Greenhouse Gas Accounting Standard for quantifying product carbon footprints. And furthermore, Carbon Trust is verifying these calculations. Then on to our second product example of today, so forest film. And this is a really special sustainable solution that is especially suitable for plastic bottles. Even though the face film is plastic, it is actually wood-based plastics. So it is mitigating the environmental impact by changing from fossil raw material sources to renewable ones. This wood-based plastics is actually identical in quality, performance, and recyclability to standard PP. So you are taking no compromises with product performance or visual outlook, but making a big impact on sustainability and the reduction of carbon emissions. This product is based on UPM Bioverno naphtha, and it is a 100% wood-based solution that is manufactured fully from pulp process residue streams. It furthermore doesn't compete with the raw materials or land use for food production. And this product has been ISCC Plus, or International Sustainability and Carbon Certification, certified to verify the sustainable origin produced with mass balance approach. And furthermore, if you remember from before, as Lotti mentioned, that plastic bottles, especially with liquid drugs, will often call for a migration-safe labeling solution. This label phase is combined with RPMD, a specialized adhesive with low leachable characteristics for migration safety, combined with also sterilization resistance, excellent mantra hold, and 12 months of change management, combined with a 2-year shelf life, giving in total 3 years to execute any changes in a controlled manner. And then to our last product example of today, the translucent white FSC with RP62 EU adhesive. So this is our pre-tested renewable C-label solution that has been designed for all market-leading cardboard substrates. It provides tamper-evident functionality by being a fragile paper. So basically it means that if you try to remove the label, it will break down into tiny pieces and will not come off as a whole. So it leaves visible marks to the packaging if it has been opened. And with its translucent clarity, there is minimal interference to existing packaging information, design, and brand. Furthermore, the label face and liner are FSC certified, coming from a sustainably managed forest. It also has recycling benefits. So if you remember from before, as the label face is paper, it is following the monomaterial perspective. So it is combining a fiber-based label with a fiber-based packaging to increase the fiber yield in the recycling process. And now coming to the end of our webinar, here are still the main takeaways from our presentation today. So first of all, the container type and drug sensitivity impact the labeling requirements. There are specialized labeling solutions that can be used when, for example, migration safety is needed. To ensure compatibility with the recycling process, there are certain guidelines that can be followed in the choice of label material. And the sustainability of the overall packaging can be supported with the choice of the right label material. To follow the high level of regulations in pharmaceutical packaging, as well as to avoid any risks or sudden product failures, using OTC dedicated materials with the right change management protocol will support you. And the right label material can also increase the shelf appeal of your OTC product. and thus impact the purchase decisions of more and more eco-conscious consumers, supporting with commercial success. And lastly, the label material can support you in reaching your specific sustainable goals. Just let us know what those are, and we can happily support you in reaching those. So now, in the end of our presentation, we go into a Q&A session. So feel free to ask if you have any questions or comments, or also you can, for example, send us email if you want to ask your questions more privately, and we'll get back to you on there.
Okay, we actually received a question beforehand via mail already. And the question is, what about biodegradability in OTC packaging, and how do you see that, Anina?
Well, basically, biodegradable solutions are often not that feasible because often there is no suitable collection or sorting or processing infrastructure in place. Or if there is, consumers are not aware of this and they don't know how to dispose the biodegradable products properly. And if this biodegradable material instead ends up into a standard plastic recycling stream, it can even be harmful for the recycling, as it will lead to lower quality for the plastic recyclate itself. And if we talk about landfills, for example, you might wonder that, well, if it doesn't end up into a plastic recycling stream, but instead goes into landfills, then it would be beneficial still there. But landfills are actually not designed to support the biodegradation process. So there isn't these suitable microorganisms living there. And also landfills tend to be rather oxygen poor. So biodegradable packaging, if it ends up into a landfill, it will not often biodegrade, but just rather mummify. So basically the benefits are then lost. Let's
Thanks,
check
Anina.
if we have any. Thank you. I'm checking the message board, and so far at least I don't see any questions now. But if anyone has any question to ask, feel free to type that in the chat, or as mentioned, reach us out with a mail later on.
Okay, I think we have reached the end of today, and we take the opportunity to tell about our pharma and healthcare labeling selection guide that makes it easy for you to select the right label solutions based on various packaging types. So if that is in interest, please reach out to us and we will provide you with that as well. So we thank you all for listening to our webinar, and yeah, big thanks. And Anina, over to you.
Thank you everybody for listening in, and thank you Lotti for the closing comments. So as mentioned, if you have any questions or you would like to receive our labeling guide, feel free to reach out to us via email. And thanks everybody for the participation, and wishing you a really nice afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.